Right, useful Maya tools. There are plenty of tools in Maya that are extremely useful, but I'm just going to go over a few that I think you may not have come across, but you'll find really, really useful. There's not going to be a lot of time in this video, we're just going to be nice and quick. First tool, multi-selection. You'll find it when you go into one of the marking menus. These are the menus that you click when you're pressing additional buttons to just right click on the object. Now the first one, multi, not a problem, literally just right click, you go to multi, you can select faces, edges and vertices all at the same time. In this case, because we're going to showcase the wedge tool, another really useful tool, we're just going to go face and edge. We'll then hold shift right click, go wedge face, boom, you've got an air duct corner or whatever you want it to be. If you want to make it smoother, you change the divisions. You want the angle to change, great. We can change the angles however we like. This extremely useful tool, love it. Next tool, poke face. Poke face is a way of centralizing a vertex in the center of a face. You can select the face, poke face, boom. You've got an instant 4 triangle set, but more importantly with a vertex in the dead center of that face. Really useful if you're trying to center something to the center of a face of an object. Another great way of using it is cylinders. Often you've got a point at which you want to grab maybe a circular edge and you want to bring all those points to the center like you just saw on that cylinder. One way we can do this, fill hole on a cylinder, we'll just cap the end. Problem with this though, we've now got a giant n-gon. We don't want an n-gon. What we can do, select face, poke face, boom, you've completed your cylinder and you haven't had to manually do anything. Great tool, definitely use it. Now, if you've got extremely complex topology or for whatever reason you found yourself an n-gon, but you want to get rid of it quickly without having to manually fix stuff, nice and easy. Let's say I'm just going to do this for the sake of complex topology. This is now an n-gon because of what I've done with the edges. So what do? Instead of going and manually adding in loops and fixing this, what we can do is we can select the face, we can triangulate the faces, and then we can quadrangulate the faces. Now yes, it doesn't always give you the desired result, in this case not exactly, but it's a quick, nice and easy method of making sure that all of these are now quads rather than an n-gon, which obviously things like ZBrush will spit right out at you. So we fixed that problem. It may not be pretty, but we have fixed the issue. So now, next really useful tool, snapping rotation. It's not much of a tool more than it is just a shortcut on your keyboard. If you are, let's say, wanting to rotate a sphere or rotate anything in Maya, often you want to snap it to 45, 90 degrees, whatever it is, but you usually have to then go into the attribute menu and go, oh, 90 degrees in there, done. What's even easier than that sometimes is rather than having to access the attribute menu, what you can do is you can just hold down J on the keyboard, the letter J, and it will snap then at, I believe, 10-degree intervals. So then you can easily snap to 90, job done, without having to access the attribute menu. Another great thing, Shift D, which is transform duplicate. What you can do is with this, it's a great method I often use it for, is creating stairs. Let's say I create a nice slab for a stair here, but rather than having to duplicate it, so Control D, and then manually doing this every time, which can be quite labor intensive, after doing the duplicate, so I duplicate, I make the position movements, rotation, scale movements, whatever they are, into the place I want it, and then without deselecting it, I just press Shift D, and it will remember that movement, and I can press Shift D again, and just keep pressing it to my heart's content until I have the stairs I want. You can do this for everything. It doesn't have to be stairs, I'm just using it as an example. This same thing, let's say I wanted to move the pivot point, say, to the edge of the plank, and then we could rotate it, let's duplicate it, rotate it to there, say, lift it up a little bit, and then Shift D, Shift D, Shift D, do it over and over again, and you get yourself some nice spiral staircases. Now, this is excellent. Obviously, if you want to do something more complex or you have the parameters set that you want, you could do arrays, but in this case, Shift D is a nice quick way of getting about doing these duplications with remembering previous transforms. Now, one thing I do want to add in, not so much a tool, but something I definitely learned along the way, learned the hard way, some might say, is when you're adding lots of edge loops into your topology, often you find yourself then when you're having to fix edges, you then go and let's say you wanted to delete this edge here, delete this edge here, but you wanted to keep other things the same. The problem is you've still got a vertice now here, and it's because you've been deleting these edges, or let's say this entire edge loop, and you haven't been deleting the vertice. When I first started out in Maya, this was a real pain. I would then literally go through and select things one by one. That's no fun, it's completely useless, and you don't need to do it. All you need to do is when you're deleting an edge, you need to make sure that you're deleting it while pressing Control Delete. That'll make sure that you're deleting not only the edge, but also the vertice. And you'll see here, if you do Control Delete, it's gone. Just something to remember, really useful, saves you a bunch of time. Now, one of the last things I'd like to mention is paint selection. Now, I don't know how many times I've wanted to select a face on an object or a selection of faces, and I've had to go Shift Select, and I've gone around and selected all these manually to do whatever it is I wanted to do. Maybe it was something like that, right? Well, you don't need to do this, because rather than selecting just one, you can do this, right? You can just drag select. Well, the problem with this is you often then select right through the other side of the object, which sometimes is extremely useful and it's exactly what you want. But in this case, I just want this side. What I can do in this case then is I can hold Tab. If I hold Tab, you'll see my cursor will change to a circle and a plus, and I can simply drag along and it will select that exact selection I want. And I can keep drag selecting wherever I like, nice and easy, and then that's the selection I've got. So brilliant, such a quick, fast way of doing things, and I'm not even going to talk anymore. I hope I've been really useful. If you ever want to learn something more, please just let me know what you want to learn and I'll see if I can make a video about it. Great, if you enjoyed the video, press like, maybe subscribe. Let's see what I can do in the future. Great, cheers for watching.